Let's listen.
Saga was announced, immediately I thought, WoW 2 is coming. And it's been a pretty hot topic in my circles for a while now. I was even asked about it at my recent Blizzard trip to Boston. However, it has caused some confusion as to what WoW 2 would mean for our beloved 20-year-old MMO.
Hint, it's not this.
And the weird thing is, it's kind of already happening. Let's take a look. I'm not going to BS you and say I've confirmed or leaked info. We don't. It's speculative for sure, but there is so much evidence to suggest that something may be in the works.
Okay.
The World Soul Saga itself having a definite end point, and that the final expansion, The Last Titan, probably being Azeroth, might actually cause the destruction of some or even part of the planet. All right. Time for a lore catch-up. Okay.
Hold on. Am I making this up? I feel like I heard Ian say in an interview that they're already working on expansions past The Last Titan. I feel like I heard him say that. Am I making this up? I've watched so many interviews at this point. I've watched so many different things. I feel like I have heard him say that they're already working beyond Titan. Right? Yeah, I'm like 80% sure. 90. I feel like he said that. So, anyway.
Okay, in the beginning, there were Titans. They are huge, and they all live friendly, held hands, a lot of flowers going on. But then, one of them got mad. See Brownbeard? Boom, Sargeras, yeah? Got horns. He was mad, wrecked all their bodies, but trapped fragments of them in the big suck. And then, we come along, muscle bound. What did we do? Sucked off Sargeras, yeah? Straight to the Shadow Realm with you. Still around, though. Illidan coming back. And then, Baby Bean. Azeroth itself is a world soul. Where do Titans come from? Boom, baby beans. And that's in the middle of our planet. What does that mean when the last Titan approaches? Bang. Everything's gonna break. That's how you do lore. Screw you, Nobble.
Okay,
WoW over
now
its
we know.
20 years
All
has
right.
amassed
Cool.
a lot of geographical space that, let's face it, in the retail version of the game is basically empty. So a little catastrophic destruction wouldn't be the end of the world, literally. And with things like the Caverns of Time existing to go back and do the older content when players want, it's all good. All that is to say, if you were going to do something spectacular, then the end of the World Soul Saga fits quite nicely, doesn't it? Which brings us to WoW 2.
Okay.
Now, since the discussion
listening.
started, there have been quite a lot of suggestions and confusion on just how that would happen. Would it be a different launcher? Would there be new characters to make? Would it be like FF14, where they literally destroyed the game and a new one launched that was entirely different? Would it be like Overwatch, forcing everyone to move over to Overwatch 2? Maybe it's even got some FPS component or something. As crazy as it may sound, it's understandable where these ideas have come from. For years, people have been making all kinds of wonderful WoW-inspired content using tech that isn't over 20 years old at this point.
I'm like thinking in my head, what would I want as a player? And I'm curious what you guys would want. Because for me, deleting current WoW and making WoW 2 doesn't seem like an option. Like, oh, yeah, let's just remove everyone's achievement points, mounts, titles, friend groups, guilds to make WoW 2 start over. Like, it just doesn't seem like an option, right? Like, that just doesn't seem realistic to delete 20 years of 21 going on 21 years of history. So it's like, okay, so you keep current WoW and then you make WoW 2, and it's like we're gonna have a situation like old school RuneScape, or I guess I should say RuneScape 2 or RuneScape 3 or whatever it's called, like the new RuneScape, then old school just being bigger anyway. And it's like you launch this new thing and the old one is just bigger anyway because people don't want change. And I could totally see that happening. So I'm like, what's their best way forward here? And to be truthful, I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think, right? Would you kill retail or like kill WoW to make WoW 2? Would you keep WoW 1 and also release WoW 2 and split the player base even more? You'd have WoW 2, WoW 1, SOD, Era, Anniversary, Hardcore, Kata, Mob, TVC, Anniversary. Just like so many WoWs. Like, I don't know. It's a tough spot, right? It's a good spot, but a tough spot.
Point. And I'm sure many of you have seen recreations of your favorite zones made in Unreal Engine with gorgeous lighting, fully voiced, or even looking at Blizzard's advanced animation techniques that we know they're capable of. Before we go into that though, the question always comes up, why? Why would there even be a WoW 2? Well, pick your poison. There's no way in hell Morhaime and the squad expected their game that they made all those years ago to be still up and running. And it's pretty clear, the speed bumps are over for now. It isn't going away anytime soon, so it makes sense to start planning for another 20 years. I apologize to my OGs for what's about to happen, and to the people who are now playing WoW who were born after it came out. This isn't going to be pretty. Do you realize just how old World of Warcraft is? We say 2004, but do you know that's the year that Half-Life 2 came out? Halo 2? Metal Gear Solid 3, which is now about to get its 5th revision of the game? If that doesn't make you feel old, let me do this for you. Doom: The Dark Ages just came out and people are ripping and tearing all the way through. Do you know in 2004 though, Doom 3 came out. A game so advanced that it couldn't even run on most people's PCs at all. Still not enough? Okay. Last week,
I get it, bro. I'm old, all right? Like, come on. Yeah, I'm in my 30s, bro. Yeah, we get it. We get it.
Recording this, we got the big reveal of GTA 6 coming next year and what it looks like. In 2004, along with its marketing of some of the best, most realistic graphics.
Wait, what the heck? This is the GTA 6 trailer? I never watched it. That's crazy. I never watched it because, like, I try to keep things family friendly around here, but like this looks insane.
In 2004, along with its marketing of some of the best, most realistic graphics out there, GTA San Andreas came out. Look at them side by side, my friends.
Whoa,
20
family
years
friendly
is a really long time in tech. Problems with current WoW are pretty obvious, right? For the most part, the game runs decently, but then... I'm not going to be rolling dice again here, but you guys have done a world boss. Whole game just falls apart. It's in fact gotten so bad that 30-man Ansarek was essentially unplayable for many people. WoW was known for a long time as the seamless world with no loading screens, and now, well, we load screen every couple of seconds. At the Race to World First, not only do the raiders get top-of-the-line PCs, but they have all these weird rules, such as relogging or restarting every couple of hours to clear out cache and reset memory and things, as it has dramatic performance loss if you are playing WoW for a few hours. Silly things have been a nightmare to change. The backpack size, for one. Like, the entire original code was built on the back of it. Or the struggles they've had over the years with multi-core performance, which has grown, don't get me wrong, by leaps and bounds over the last decades. They have done some phenomenal upkeep and updates over the years, but the issues, they're all there for people to see, and I'm sure you can name 1,000 more. With that said, let's have the grand reveal. What, in my opinion, would WoW 2 look like? Well, here's a screenshot of World of Warcraft today in retail.
Drum roll, please.
Here is what WoW 2 would likely look like. When we're discussing WoW 2, it's not about the graphics.
What? Oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting at all. Okay, so he thinks they should just build the same thing on a new engine? Is that what's going on?
WoW's graphics can always be better, but the style has been pretty timeless. When showing you Grand Theft Auto earlier, the comparison doesn't really fit with something like WoW.
That's true.
More importantly, MMOs are like a comfortable blanket for a lot of players. A dramatic shift in appearance and style would likely not be welcome. Hell, dude, we've seen this so many times. People lost their minds at the updated character models a few years back. Myself,
I'm still mad about that. And it wasn't a few years back. That was Warlords of Draenor. Well, I guess there was multiple updates maybe, but Warlords of Draenor, man. I'm still upset. It's been 11 years and I'm still upset. I like the old models, right? One of the things, and I've talked about this before, if you have an art goal and vision of creating something hyper realistic, so mimicking real life, it tends to age quickly because you can get better and better tech to mimic real life better. So if you try to mimic things, hyper realistic art styles, they tend to age, right? But if you are not trying to mimic real life and you're creating a style of art that is supposed to be separate, right, in itself, it's just like, okay, this is a torrent, this doesn't exist IRL, these things tend to not age as quickly, right? They can be classics, so to speak, or last a lot longer. Anyway, I think the art in WoW has aged really, really well because of that, and the art in like older games that try to mimic real life, not so much. These old models here, I think, really to me just feel like Warcrafty, and the models when they did their updates feel a lot more Disney. And I've gotten some pushback on this opinion, and I like I said earlier, like, that's okay. People might agree and disagree on this one, but I think at some point WoW started feeling a lot more bouncy and a lot more Disney. And look, there's bigger fish to fry. This isn't that big of a deal. There's bigger fish to fry. There's bigger problems. There's bigger, like if you're a dev watching this, it's probably not, like, there's so many other things, but it should still be said, right? At some point, WoW kind of lost that Warcraft art touch feel, right? Wow, a lot of people in the chat are actually agreeing. But yeah, so once again, it's been 11 years since they did this. I'm still upset about it. I think that kind of getting that Disney feel, bringing that Disney feel in, still to this day feels a bit off. So
models a few years back, myself included. My Tauren used to look way meaner and angrier than this goofy face thing. No. The idea of WoW 2 is primarily back-end, to allow the game to do all the things they wish it could do and may want to do in the future without it being hamstrung by literally decades of old design. And that is what leads me to the next point. It's kind of already happening. Dragon riding and the new housing function that I got to test should not exist. Housing in particular was a feature I've talked to people at Blizzard about since 2016. The message was always the same regardless. It just can't be done in a way that makes it what the players want and expect. The game simply cannot do it. Well, just a week ago, I played it. It works, and it shouldn't. So how was it done? Look, man, when devs speak to me about this stuff, they rightly regard me like a child who cannot fathom that it is possible to connect two shoelaces together in a way that stay tied, and rightly so. I don't know about this stuff. But essentially I asked, how did you do it? How is this possible? How is dragon riding possible? It's not just the player in the 3D space, but faster, which is basically what normal mounts are. The answer was essentially, well, it wasn't. Until someone figured something out a few years ago, and now it's here.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
But here's the important bit in the statement that I got. Years ago. Often people don't really understand how long in the making things are. Blizzard has been working quietly, discreetly, on major additions for the game for literal years before it ever sees the light of day, and God knows how many they've scrapped. And an overhaul of WoW could very well fall into that category. Now, I know many of you are thinking, what's the point in making the same finished product that we see in game again? Well, this is actually happening, and I'm really not going to be chortling the balls here of FF14, but there's a prime example happening right now that is very relevant to what we're talking about, so bear with me here. FF14 is coming to mobile. That's right, the entire MMO, cutscenes, audio, the whole thing is going to be available on a mobile phone. Now, here's the thing. It's being rebuilt, similar to what we're talking about here, by a different company to visually come across as the same, but they're changing the foundation. They're changing their infrastructure at the very base, which is allowing the mobile version to do things that the main game cannot. I know that sounds crazy, but it is exactly what's happening, and it's causing a lot of issues in the FF14 community because they're like, wait, the mobile version in some ways is better than the console and PC version. A simple example would be dyeing armor. You can dye your armor in FF14's main game. You can do it with 2 different colors. You can change them around to whatever you want. The mobile version allows for 16 different dye channels on your armor. You can customize the buttons, the lapels, the logos, all sorts of things. Now, here's the weird thing. That actually exists in the main game in a form, right? You can do that with the use of add-ons. Add-ons allow you to change all the 16 things on armor. But the actual base game infrastructure does not allow that much information to be transferred amongst the players that are playing the game right now.
That's interesting.
If you want to do this, what you can do is save it locally to your machine. So you use an add-on, it shows you with your perfect little glam, your character will appear that way, but information is not being sent to other players. That is the trick. Their infrastructure does not allow that kind of information to pass between players. The foundation doesn't quite work. What the mobile game has been able to do is actually go in, change that base infrastructure, so even though the actual finished product looks exactly the same, no different whatsoever, the underlying structure allows them to do many more things. And you can imagine exactly why the main game players are a little miffed that the mobile version is seemingly superior in some ways. Why does this exist over on my bloody mobile phone, on my tablet, instead of existing in the big main game I'm playing on my super expensive PC?
I mean, that's a fair criticism. Yeah, they should be upset.
Other examples of it. But this is a prime example of what we're talking about, that WoW is trying to do, and WoW might want to adopt, is by remaking the whole game, changing all that base infrastructure, allowing a lot more doors to be open. The finished product looks the same, but it is absolutely not the same at the bottom.
Can someone who knows more about this educate me real quick? From my knowledge base, WoW has done this a few times. Maybe I'm wrong. There was like a classic engine, and then they upgraded to a new engine in like, I think Kata, and then they upgraded to a new engine in like Legion, and then they upgraded to like a new engine in maybe Dragonflight or something. And when they roll back like classic versions of WoW, it's on like the Legion engine or Legion client or whatever. So I feel like they've already done this a few times. Am I mistaken? Am I misunderstanding this? Maybe I'm misunderstanding client versus engine. So maybe they're just updates, but not necessarily like completely renovating it, like completely ripping down everything. But it seems like we've seen at least a few new engines, right? It's a continuous thing. Okay.
And allows for so many more options. So with that said, perhaps World of Warcraft 2, as in the box, the collector's edition, the expansion, the title itself will never exist. Instead, Blizzard has found a different way. Bit by bit, they're going to consume and overtake and replace all these old systems one by one. Or perhaps, when the credits roll on the World Soul Saga, we'll see a message. World of Warcraft, a realm reborn.
No way. No way they do that, man, right? Dude. Okay. No way. Nice, bro. Nice. Okay, I personally think that there's no way they just delete WoW and do a WoW 2. I think there's just no way that ever happens. Maybe I'm wrong. But it reminds me of this philosophical question, right? And the question, you guys, I'm probably gonna butcher this, but you guys have probably all heard it. And it's like, if you have a ship sitting out in a dock and you replace one wooden plank on that ship, is it a new ship? And most people would probably say no. And then it's like, okay, well, what if you replaced 2 planks? And most people would probably say no. And it's like, well, what if you replaced 40 planks, 100 planks, half the ship, more than half the ship? What if you replaced every single plank on the ship? Every single plank on the ship. At what point did it become a new ship? Is it still the same ship? Is it a new ship? If it is a new ship, at what point is it a new ship? And now, that's a very like old philosophical question of like, small change and slow change. That's probably what we're seeing with WoW 2, right? That's probably what we're seeing with WoW 2. It's like, we're going to see each expansion reinvent you know, one thing, one system, one system, one system, one system. And then, yeah, 20 years down the road, it won't even look anything like it does in 2004, right? That's probably what they'll do. But hey, man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just like my guess, right? What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys think they're gonna blow up WoW 1 to make WoW 2? Or do you guys think it's gonna be like the slow, gradual shift into WoW 2 from what it is today? I don't know. That's already happened? Oh, totally. Yeah, that's not... Yeah, totally already happened. It's been happening. The ladder, slow, already happened. Yeah. Regardless, great video from Praech. Not quite the video I was expecting, but still solid. And this ending is just like super troll too. So there it is, man. WoW 2 is coming and could already be here from Praech. Yeah, it could already be here. I think it pretty much already is. There we go, man. All right.